Hello and welcome. Patanjali Ayurved, a consumer goods company also into Ayurvedic medicine, has launched a drug which it claims, or a drug kit which it claims will cure coronavirus, obviously setting off a huge pushback and a lot of protests across the country. Now, the questions that we are asking are as follows. The first is that how do such drugs launch? How does it work in this realm of Ayurveda, and how does a consumer know any different or any better? How does the same process apply for that matter for allopathic medicines? How does a consumer know whether a due process has been followed, and if that due process is something that can be considered safe or even fair for something that will obviously either save life or maybe cause an adverse reaction? In this particular case, the Indian Council of Medical Research and Ayush Ministry have urged the company to stop the promotion, to verify their claims and give clarity on the results of their clinical trials. And that's another important aspect, because the clinical trials, which are usually a way of gauging whether a drug has reached a certain degree of efficacy, has not been done, or if it's been done, it's not been done in the manner that it should be. And there are obviously guidelines for that. The government has said that has banned these ads from Patanjali, and at this point the matter seems to be on hold. But the question that we obviously would or want to know is tomorrow, what is to prevent something like this or others from launching cures for a dreaded disease like this, which is claiming lives as we speak across the world. So to discuss this, I'm joined by two gentlemen who come from the Ayurvedic and the pharmaceutical world, and from the legal side. So let me introduce Dr. Narendra Bhatt, former CEO of Zandu Pharma, also a well-known brand, as you know, and an adjunct professor and director for research at the College of Ayurveda, Bharati Vidyapith, Pune, also a visiting scientist and national professor at the Hafkin Research Institute in Mumbai. I'm also joined by Murali Neelakantan, who used to be earlier Global General Counsel for pharmaceutical firms Glenmark, and then earlier Cipla. So thank you both for joining me. Dr. Bhatt, let me start off with you. So you've been in a large company, a well-known established brand in this country, and have, I'm sure, launched many products, particularly OTC products, which were obviously based on Ayurveda or Ayurvedic formulation. So tell us broadly about what is the process and what is different, if anything, from what we encounter in the world of allopathy.
The law, as far as this matter is concerned, is quite clear. And as of today, there is a law available where we can launch Ayurvedic products into basically two categories. One, what we call as a classical product. So classical, which is based on 54 ancient texts and any formulation which is picked up from that. And if it is manufactured and processed as per the classical text, then we are allowed to sell it as per the classical name and with all the attributes which are there. The other category which falls within the proprietary medicine. Now, this is a misnomer because earlier it was called as patented proprietary products, but recently, last say 5 to 10 years, there has been some changes in it. And the government has been sensitive to it. So they have modified it from time to time by providing different advisories. So there, as of today, the situation is very clear that when you have a proprietary medicine, one needs to justify the composition based on the Ayurvedic rationale and logic of those ingredients and the claims that they are made thereof. Or if failing to do so, it is the onus is on the manufacturer to prove the efficacy, the safety, and the validation of the product for the claims that are being made for. So this is very clear. The law as of today is very clear about it.
So the law is applied by the Food and Drugs Administration, or is it another body when it comes to Ayurvedic products?
So that is where the thing that the Ministry of Ayush, as now we call them, earlier Department of ISM, they will provide the guidelines, but the implementation is done by the state FDA. And that is where at times there are little discrepancies that arise on and off, and then we come across it. But in the present situation, the law is very clear that one cannot claim which has not been approved. That is very clear.
Right. So a follow-up question. So now in this case, Patanjali Ayurved launching a cure to corona, or anyone launching a cure to corona. So let's say if you were in your earlier avatar as heading a large Ayurvedic formulations company, how would you have gone about it, if at all?
There is no way I could have claimed to cure corona unless I had the enough proof of that. It's just not possible. It is not. It is just inappropriate to do that. Simply said.
So, and how would the proof, where would the proof come from? I mean, I'm sure proof, when you say proof, it means there's either the formulation research or clinical trials.
So there will be a methodology to do that. Particularly in this case, when I'm calling it as a clear-cut claim, because I went through the newspaper, the announcement, the way it came. So there are 2 or 3 specific words which are used. Number one and foremost is the word cure. That itself becomes irrelevant because the word cure is a very heavy and loaded word when you say about an infection like coronavirus. So the word cure has to be very carefully used. That is why even the Ministry of Ayush, when they undertook a variety of research, have always tried to look into the peripheral area of immunity and other things, but they have not claimed that they are going to initiate anything in the field of cure as such. Now, that is a different subject, whether to do it or not, that maybe we can discuss it, but the law is clear about it, yeah.
Right. Okay. Yes. And the Uttarakhand license officer is on record to say that they issued a license for immunity booster, cough and fever, and the word cure may not have been mentioned anyway. But that's the specific case. Murali, let me come to you. So how do you, as someone who's been a legal eagle in a large pharmaceutical company, see this process, and how does this process, how do you build this process in a way that makes customers or consumers comfortable with the drug and everything that's gone into it?
So I'll try and answer some bit from the previous question, which is that many years ago, the process for approving an Ayurvedic drug or marketing an Ayurvedic drug was in divergence from modern medicine or allopathy. But over many years now, and as recent as 2018, there has been a convergence, which means that the strict process that the regulator uses to approve allopathic drugs, a similar process is now being adopted for Ayurvedic drugs. So if it is a known substance, as the doctor mentioned, say Triphala, we have texts, Ayurvedic texts, pharmacopoeia, which say these are the constituents of Triphala, and this is the likely use for it. So it will be used for cough. We know that. For anything that is not in the text, as the doctor mentioned, the process is almost the same as you would for an allopathic drug, which means that you have to do testing, you have to show that it has a chance of working, provide the evidence, have a clinical trial with the same rigor. And doing a clinical trial is not just a simple matter of getting 4 people off the street, giving them some medication and claiming in 14 days that they're all cured. So there is a rigor to this process. How you find these patients? How do you classify them? What is the sample size? So there is a statistical analysis of how many people make this trial credible. What are their health issues? So you have to really do a proper diagnosis of those people to identify these are appropriate for the trial, these are not appropriate for the trial. That will narrow down the number of patients who can potentially use this. So, for example, if you say there are people with renal issues, kidney problems, you've excluded them from the trial because you think it is going to hurt them. Then who you can probably treat with the results of this trial will also have to exclude them. So there is a method and science to it. And what the government has done over the last 10 years is to make the process more scientific and more acceptable throughout the world. Because we want to demonstrate that Ayurveda has value, but we also want to demonstrate it in a scientific manner that the world understands. So in many ways, the convergence between the process that was used for Ayurveda and for allopathy is useful to us. So for example, in an allopathic drug, you will first send them data saying, in the lab, this is what we have done. Then we have done it in 3 stages. We've done it on, let's say, small mammals. We've done it on pigs, rabbits. We've done it on dogs. Then we think that it's going to be safe. We will do a phase 1 trial to show that it is safe. Then we'll show efficacy. It actually does something. We will figure out how much of it we can use. Can we use 1 milligram per kilogram of person? So we understand what that is. It's only after all of that that we then get to phase 3, which is test it on humans to see whether it works or not. That process is now being embedded within the Ayurvedic system as well.
Right. So, Murali, so this means that this product has not gone through all of this because it's not feasible that all of this effort has been put in, and therefore is not conforming to the existing guidelines and existing legal requirements.
So, I have not had access to official documents, but you and I have both seen some posts on social media with some of the documents. So, it seems to be that there was a clinical trial. Okay, so whatever the validity of that is, let's not go there. As a matter of process, they claim that there was a clinical trial. They claim that this was done in a national institute. I don't know how good or bad that institute is, but it seems like that institute has not been particularly experienced with doing clinical trials of any kind. And therefore, that's the first question. Would you do a trial in a place like that? Secondly, the trial only began, according to the ICMR, the CTRI notes that we have, it only started, recruitment for the trial only started on 29th of last month. It's highly unlikely that within a day of announcing your recruitment, you would have a large number of people who are perfect candidates for that trial. If the trial required 14 days of dosage, you can imagine that it's only been 22 days since that, 24 days since the recruitment began. In the allopathic world, we wouldn't even finish recruitment in 6 to 8 weeks because it takes us that much time to find appropriate candidates with that profile that will fit what we know already from the lab. So to be able to do the testing in the lab, have a product, recruit, dose them completely, and have results, which is the cure they are claiming, within less than 4 weeks is a miracle. I have not seen, I don't see any other drug that has had less than 4 months.
Right. Dr. Bhatt, how do I, as a consumer, I mean, we're obviously all seeing this, we put out something on social media, people say that do not even mention it because you're advertising it. So the advertising is happening. The fact that we're talking about it now is in some ways communicating a certain message. Now, how does a consumer then, take away what is fair or what is right or what is not, particularly for something like this, which is life-threatening?
See, here, this is an unfortunate situation, I will say. I will not blame one particular agency for that. But I have raised a question about what is being identified in this country as Ayush product. I mean, we have to go to the basic level of that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm digressing a little, but this is one important question which we should ask now. Because whatever has been happening in last 15 years, or I have tried to point it out to the concerned people, but what is being identified as Ayush product, that itself is, in our country, we have a medical pluralism. And this is a very important point which I want to make here. We are the only country in the world which has got the maximum amount of medical pluralism existing, where we have several systems which are officially registered. Now, this, unfortunately, we have also translated into medical regulatory pluralism. So in this country, we have allopathic drugs. And when it comes to the natural products or Ayurveda, we have Ayush products, we have phytopharmaceuticals, we have dietary supplements, we have nutraceuticals, and I heard that we are also introducing new things under, and now we have products under FSSAI.
Yes.
The funny situation is that an ingredient like ashwagandha, which is also one of the ingredient of the Baba Ramdev's product, which is claiming ashwagandha. Now, ashwagandha could be an ingredient under IP, Indian under pharmacopoeia, that is allopathic pharmacopoeia. It could be part of FSSAI, it could be part of nutraceutical, it could be part of phytopharmaceuticals, and of course it is part of Ayush product and Unani product and Siddha product. Now this is a situation which I don't know, we need to address it in a very square manner. Yes. We have unfortunately allowed it to diverge it in a very different fashion. As a result, we have a very complex situation. Let me take this example that who doesn't know Tulsi in this country? Everybody knows Tulsi. Who doesn't know ashwagandha is in this country? Because last 30 years, 40 years, we've been trying to sell it as an Indian ginseng. So ashwagandha is not, Tulsi is known. And Guruji, Tinosphora is a drug which has been done for immune system from last 20-25 years. So Tinosphora cordifolia guduchi is being used even for cancer complementary immunity boosting. So they are not new. They are not new. But the question is that when you put together these three ingredients, how they are behaving, what they are doing, that requires, before you put a claim, specific claim for corona, we need to undergo a process. Now there I want to emphasize one point, that we may not be as rigorous as we need to be for allopathic drugs. I'm not saying from the people's point of view. From the system point of view, within Ayurvedic system or within Ayush system, there could be a methodology, there could be an alternative paradigm, there could be an alternative way of handling it. But we need to evolve that method so that we can claim and so that the people will not be taken in a wrong manner. So somewhere I think there is a little ambiguity, and we are allowing that ambiguity to prosper, and as a result, this kind of situations we come across. That is my viewpoint.
Right. Okay. So we're running to the end of our discussion. So let me pose a quick question on, again, from a consumer point of view. So what is my lesson? I mean, what do I take away from this? And Murali, let me go with you first. So, I mean, when you look back at your experience, the way communication, and this could be, I mean, a communication problem, right? If they had not used the word cure, and they had said this is only for immunity, which in any case the Ministry of Ayush has permitted, or at least to talk about from an Ayurvedic point of view. So maybe this problem would not have been there. So if you look back, so what is the best way to, I mean, what is the kind of communication that is ideal, permitted, and what should be accepted or received by consumers?
I think the big issue, as I said, is of convergence, and it has happened even with Ayurveda. So since 2018, an advertisement for an Ayurvedic product needs to be approved in advance. And when that approval is given or sought, information is sought on efficacy and the claims being made. The amendment to the Drugs Act, Section 33E, talks about misbranded drugs in the same way as it does for allopathic drugs. And one of them is the false claim that the drug, so it is a false claim for the drug is an offense under the Drugs Act now. Right. Similarly, in April of this year, as regards COVID, there was a very clear statement from the Ayush Ministry saying anybody doing any research, come to us first. So that was all to prevent these kind of misleading ads. So 2018, we had an amendment to the drugs regulations saying that all advertisements need to be approved by the ministry before they are put out. We have the Drugs Act, which says that only advertisements that can substantiate the claim will be allowed. So there is a move by government to say there is a real problem with misbranding Ayurvedic drugs and making false claims, and therefore we will approve it before it's sent out. So what could have been done differently if each of these products had said one is for cough, because it has Cipla in it. One is for, let's say, congestion of the chest, make you feel better. Then there is one more for it. And just put that out and say, this is all it does. I doubt that so many people would have bought it. So there is a clear objective here that they wanted to say it cures COVID because otherwise nobody is going to buy Triphala and Ashwagandha. They already have enough supplies of it. I have it at home. So there is no reason to do it. So this is a marketing ploy, and the government wants to stop this. So clearly it is in the face of regulation that they've gone off and done this. So there is no loophole, nowhere to hide on this.
Right. Okay. Last question, Dr. Bhatt. So as a practitioner, as someone who's worked with formulations and big brands, what's your advice? I mean, to someone who wants to, look at an Ayurvedic solution for either immunity building or developing resistance, what do you propose, or what do you recommend?
Take care before you really believe on what is being told to you. Because to take the point further, how do you define immunity? If you look at the Ayurvedic products today, I think the word immunity has been completely now gone across from A to Z. Now, this is where I think the role of government becomes very vital, and they cannot have piecemeal approach for the protection of the people. I think government has to be more dynamic, more open, more consultative, and then only they will be able to provide solutions. They cannot come out with knee-jerk reactions, because what Murali said, people have gone to court and there are stay orders on that particular notification about the taking permission from the Ministry of Ayurveda. I mean, it cannot be like that. Everything Ministry wants to do it. It cannot done that.
Right. We've run out of time. Thank you, Dr. Bhatt and Murali, for joining me and hopefully shedding a little more light on the precautions that we should be taking. It's a deadly virus and it's not getting any better right now. But if things have to improve, we have to be more alert about not just what we do in terms of our daily lives, but also about the medicines that we are sometimes enticed to take. Thank you very much for joining me.